Welcome to Your Inspired Journey. I'm Carla Andrews and I'm with Coaching with Crystal Noel. She is a life coach who helps overwhelmed moms deal with everyday lives. Welcome, Crystal. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here and just really excited to chat with you today, Carla.
That's fantastic. Thank you for coming aboard for us to hear your journey, not only as a coach, but just being an entrepreneur and inspiring moms to just live the best life that they can. If can you share with us, how did you get to this space of becoming an entrepreneur, becoming a life coach? Share a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, I would love to. So I'm a homeschooling mom of four. I have kids ranging from 4 to 13. I live in a I live outside of a small little town in southern Alberta, Canada, so just north of Montana. I have my undergraduate degree in psychology, and I always knew I wanted to do psychology or therapy or counseling of some sort. And I kind of just happened upon the life coach school. I went to a relationship evening one time that was done by a life coach, and I was like, what's life coaching? And it was so good and so eye-opening, and I'm like, I need to learn more about this. So I started looking into it, and I have some people in my family are therapists, so I chatted with them about what that would be like and what school would be like there. And I looked into life coaching, and it just seemed like a really good fit for me. And so I started going to school, and I initially thought that I would kind of just work for somebody else. I was like, oh, I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur. It wasn't something that really excited me or interested in me. My husband actually loves everything to do with entrepreneurship. And I was always like, no, 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 work for someone else. It's more steady. Anyways, now I'm chewing on my words because I'm like, I actually love being an entrepreneur. But it kind of was like a full circle because as I was going to school, we do our school online. It's all live online, and they teach you how to kind of, set up Zoom, and you life coach people over Zoom. And as I was doing that, I was like, oh, I actually really like this. It fits along super well with me and my rhythm, and we're able to just have such a good connection, even just online. So I set up my business online, and I started learning about business and learning about just everything to do with being an entrepreneur. And what was so interesting was when I learned about being an entrepreneur, I was like, oh, this is just psychology. This is just psychology put to business. And so I immediately fell in love with it. And I'm like, wait, husband, we should actually both just be entrepreneurs forever because this is amazing. And I feel like I've kind of cracked the code on it because I'm like, oh no, it's all the things I learned in psychology and read all the books about. But now it's just applied to business, and it works the same way. So now I love being an entrepreneur, and my husband does manage my business. He has a full-time position, but I'm hoping one day he decides to just hop on board and work with me full-time. But yeah, but I love it.
Fantastic. And I'm sure by, being an entrepreneur, you're having more time to spend with your children, having
Mm-hmm.
family time.
Yeah, so I love that I get to work online because, for instance, today I met with a couple clients, and then I had a few hours to hang out with my kids, and then I was interviewed somewhere else, and then I went out to the beach. We were just at the beach for a few hours. Then I ran back home, get changed, and have another meeting. It's cool because I can just fit it into my schedule and still have so much time to go on adventures with my kids, and then I can still homeschool them, which is also pretty incredible that I'm able to do both at the same time. So yeah, I love it. I just love the rhythm that we have.
That's fantastic. And you said that you're homeschooling. If you could share a little bit, elaborate more about how are you
Yeah.
handling the homeschooling in the middle of, your work environment, right? Your
Yeah.
schedule. How are you handling that?
That is a very good question. I have not had to deal with this before. This is my first year. So, last year, I went to school and I had a babysitter because this was pre COVID. So, my kids would just go to my sitter for 2 days a week. And then I would work in the evenings where they were asleep. And we had a great rhythm, and it was awesome. And then come March, and everything gets shut down. And I'm like, oh, shoot, what do I do now? So, I kind of had to start, instead of just having really long chunks of time on my business, I would split it up a little bit. So I would go and so for instance, I meet with a few international clients. So they want to meet early in the morning. So I'll meet with them really early in the morning while my kids are still asleep. and then I'll wake up with them and do their thing. And I find that once I spend a few hours really connecting with them and spending time with them, doing their school, or it's summer right now, so we just do a lot of like reading and playing and stuff. So I'll just do whatever with them. Then because they've been like kind of filled up and they feel more connected with, then I can just go and lock my door and be like, Kate, I'm going to be, working for an hour, working for 2 hours or whatever, and go in and do that. So I do that a couple days a week. And then also the rest of I work typically with overwhelmed moms. So usually it's in the evenings, like when their kids are in bed. So I work a lot in the evening hours also. So my husband does the bedtime routine with my kids, and I'm in here working for a few hours. But it's nice to be able to kind of still be able to do that and work.
And being in the position, being a mom, right? You're taking a lot, I'm sure a lot of that experience onto your calls. What have you found that's been
Mhm.
more the overwhelming issues when it comes to parenthood, to momhood? What have you worked with your clients specifically? More, are you in a niche in a certain area, or you find that it's all types of areas of parenting that you deal with?
Yeah. I kind of think everything, it's like whatever they bring to the table. So sometimes what's overwhelming to them is they'll set like, weight loss goals and they're not able to reach them, or maybe they have business goals, or maybe like I met with a few people this week who are entrepreneurs themselves and haven't been able to switch from like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mom, how do I do both? So when they're doing either, they're overwhelmed because they're thinking they should be doing the other thing, or they're thinking about what's coming
Oh,
next. So I'm helping them just get like a more clear mindset about that and not feel so much overwhelmed, but be able to be really, to kind of make it more sustainable, to have a really healthy work life and a really healthy home life, and that both are equally possible and both can be your top priorities and you can do both well. As far as people that aren't entrepreneurs, what I find often comes is like people want to be positive parents. Like now there's kind of this shift in parenting where we're not like yelling and screaming and grounding and, like it's a lot more intentional. It's a lot more positive. It's a lot more attachment based. But we don't know how to do it. We hear all the experts be like, this is what you should be doing. And we're all like, wait, but like, how do we actually do that? Because that sounds amazing. But then I go home and like yell at my kids again. So I help people along that journey because I feel like there's like positive intentional parenting over here, all these great books, all these experts that tell you how great it is. And we're sold. We're like, as moms, we're like, yeah, that sounds like the lovely unicorn rainbow dream, right? But then over here is like, us and our human nature, and we're so like shame-based parenting, yelling, impatient, like overwhelm, all those things. And I think life coaching is the bridge that gets you from the one side to the other side. It gets you to become that intentional parent you want to become and to not be constantly dwelling in overwhelm.
and that's fantastic because what I'm hearing is you're helping them to set these goals. They are coming to the table with goals, and then you help hold them accountable to these goals so they won't be able to break it apart and into smaller pieces so they won't get overwhelmed. Correct? Is that how
Yeah,
you're
it's
doing it
kind of
with
like
them?
that. The one difference between like a lot of life coaches are like more like accountability, like let's set goals and help you push to your goals. The kind of coaching that I do, the tools that I learned from the life coach school, it's called causal coaching. So it's actually uncovering the root cause of why you're not already doing that. Like why are your
Mm.
results not already that you feel, happy and content and peaceful in your motherhood? And it's uncovering what's going on there. And when you can uncover those root causes, then it naturally shifts. I don't need to be their accountability partner. They will just make those changes because they've discovered why what's going on now is going on. So I love that. I like that's kind of why I was so drawn to this school specifically, is because I loved their approach.
That's a beautiful approach because how what you're sharing is, you can't change something that you're not aware of. And so you're
Hmm.
helping to discover that awareness. And then once you're aware of what's happening, then you can make the adjustments to make the changes to it. Wow,
Exactly.
that's
So
that's
if you a common thought that I used to have, that a lot of my clients have, is like, I can't handle this, or this is too much, or I have too much to do, or this is all on me, right? Like my husband gets to go do his own thing and this is all on me. And all of those thoughts, if you're believing those thoughts all day long, of course you're going to feel overwhelmed, right? Like I have too much to do. I can't handle this. This is too much for me. you're going to feel that feeling of overwhelm all of the time. And the actions that come from overwhelm are going to be more agitation, more frustrated with your kids, not connecting as well, yelling more, not getting the things done on your to-do list that you want done because you're feeling overwhelmed. So it's really uncovering, like, why are you feeling overwhelmed? What are the beliefs that are limiting you and making you feel that overwhelm? And how can we create awareness around? I like to talk about story a lot. So I'm like, what's your story? What story are you telling yourself that's making you feel that way? And how can we change that story? And how can we create a new story that's serving you?
And so, I mean, that is a great approach, because a lot of times, as you mentioned, with parents, we are always thinking in that way of, being overwhelmed, but not necessarily like in like stopping it, but really actually adding to it. So it seems that
Mhm.
the more that we're thinking in that type of mindset, the more it's making it worse. So you're able to
Yes.
come and help support them while they're making that shift. That's beautiful.